Blizzard is making in order for them to make rogues be able to tinker with weapon damage more, which is an interesting design space for them. Just something that they couldn't do before because Blade Flurry existed. So now it's unplayable. Maybe not unplayable. It's been compared to Shadow Flame from Warlock, where you destroy something of yours and you deal damage to all enemy minions. And it is similar. I don't know if Rogue will get any more AoE. I don't know if they need AoE. They seem to be very good at dealing single target damage with cards like Backstab and SI7 Agent. Speaking of Backstab and SI7 Agent, I was perhaps thinking that one of those cards might get changed. But no, Blade Flurry is the one that gets the hit instead. Some people make the comment, wait, Rogue isn't even really represented. It's not that good a class. Why are we hitting such an iconic Rogue card? And the answer would be, they do that in order to print better cards for Rogue in the future. Perhaps this opens the design space for a lot more cards like Deadly Poison to be printed. And Assassin's Blades, better weapons as well. So Rogue can become a major weapon class. And there's even a joke going around that says, okay, Blizzard can just delete cards instead of nerfing. And this does seem like an extreme change, but it's still a specific tool that rogues can still use. It just goes to look at, like, in a few years, people will look at the old Blade Flurry and think about, how did this card survive 2 years? But what they won't remember is that rogues didn't used to have all the great cards that they will have 2 years from now. And maybe Blade Flurry is still played. It's possible. Rogues kind of get a payment plan. The first step of the plan would be to buff the weapon. The second part of the plan is just a Blade Flurry when you have only 1 durability left. It's still 4 mana AoE clear. If normal Blade Flurry had never existed, this Blade Flurry might look pretty good. For real. Alright, aggro decks get hit a little bit as well. A Knife Juggler gets changed, which is a change welcomed by a lot of people. There are so many games of Hearthstone where a turn 2 Knife Juggler ends up doing something like 16 damage. 16 damage being roughly, it attacks 4 times, and then it throws 4 daggers. Now 4 daggers is kind of light. Let's say maybe it does 14 damage. It attacks 3 times, and then it throws 5 knives out. So now it's a 2 mana 2/2, which is completely fair, because a 2 mana 3/2 with this ability was a bit much. It's a repeatable damage dealing effect. I actually think this card might even see play even though it's a 3 mana 2/2. Whoa, I got ahead of myself a bit there. I think this card might see play even though it is a 2 mana 2/2. Now granted, a lot of the cards that Knife Juggler was good with, like Haunted Creeper, are getting rotated out with Standard as well. But this is looking a little bit into Wild, making sure that Knife Juggler plus Haunted Creeper isn't still a thing. And yeah, I mean, it's just a really strong effect, which does deserve to be on a card that's a 2/2. Leopard Gnome's nerf is very severe. But when you looked at how much damage Leopard Gnome would be pumping out, it's very realistic that you play the Leopard Gnome on turn 1, it attacks on turn 2, and it attacks on turn 3. And maybe sometimes your opponent can't deal with it on turn 3, and then on turn 4 they attack into it. But either way, the Leopard Gnome usually got in for 4 damage, and then the Death Rattle dealt 2 damage, and then maybe you had to use a minion to kill the Leopard Gnome, which meant that the Leopard Gnome would deal the 2 damage to the minion as well.